So you've got a viral comment, a private letter that someone held on to for 6 whole months, and then a public post on one of the most important days in the Christian faith. We're going to unpack how a seemingly off-the-cuff remark by Donald Trump sparked a direct theological lesson from Pastor Franklin Graham, and in the process revealed this really fascinating intersection of faith, fame, and politics. And it all started right here, with this viral clip. You have Donald Trump in what seems like a moment of genuine reflection, publicly wondering about his own path to heaven. Now, was he being serious? Was he joking? Who knows? But his words, that he doesn't think that anything is going to get him into heaven, well, they carried enough weight to trigger a very serious and, at first, very private response. But that response didn't surface for months. Then, bam, on Palm Sunday of all days, Trump posts this letter he'd gotten from Pastor Franklin Graham. But here's the really interesting part. Graham had sent it half a year earlier. Trump had been sitting on this private message all that time, and now, for some reason, he decided it was time to make it public. So what was actually in this letter? Well, Franklin Graham saw that viral clip and decided to take Trump's comments at face value. He saw it as a chance to explain a core, fundamental belief of his Christian faith directly to the former president. And this quote right here, it gets straight to the point of Graham's entire message. He's directly responding to Trump's uncertainty by saying, look, salvation isn't something you can achieve on your own. It doesn't matter what you've done. According to Graham, you just can't save yourself. External help isn't just an option. It's the only option. Okay, so Graham basically lays out two different paths here. Over on the left, you've got the path of works. This idea that you can sort of climb your way to heaven through good deeds or being famous or being successful. Graham's letter argues that path is a total dead end. But on the right, you have the path of faith, which isn't about climbing at all. It's about turning, believing, and just accepting salvation as a gift. And really, this whole idea hinges on one single, incredibly powerful concept: grace. This is the absolute core of the theology he's laying out. Grace is, by definition, unearned. It's not a reward for being good. It's a free gift given to people who, in this worldview, don't deserve it at all. Now, the Belize TV host who analyzed this whole exchange argues that this very distinction between earning something and receiving something is what makes Christianity fundamentally different from a lot of other world religions. See, the host suggests that most religions give you a kind of roadmap for how humans can reach God, but this theology, it completely flips that script. And the reason the script gets flipped is because of how severe the problem is seen to be. It's not that a person is just a little flawed, just needs to clean up their act. In this theological framework, a person is considered spiritually dead. And if you're dead, you're not capable of rescuing yourself. You don't need a cleanup. You need to be brought back to life. Now, to make this idea feel a little less abstract, the host uses an analogy that's rooted in a really powerful emotion, the feeling of loss. He says, think about it. You only feel that deep, gut-wrenching sadness about losing something that you felt was already yours. It's that sense of ownership, that feeling of value that makes you so desperate to get it back. Keep that feeling in mind for this next part. And that feeling leads us right into this powerful story the host uses to explain salvation, the parable of the lost sheep. It's a really famous story, but the host zooms in on one specific question: who's actually doing all the work here? So let's walk through it. A sheep, which already belongs to the shepherd's flock, wanders off and gets lost. It's stuck, totally helpless, in a ditch. What happens next is crucial. The shepherd doesn't just yell for it to come back. He actively goes out, searches for that one specific sheep, picks it up, and literally carries it home. The sheep does absolutely nothing to save itself. The entire rescue is driven by the shepherd. The host argues that this is a perfect illustration of the gospel that Graham was trying to communicate. It's not about the lost sheep finding its own way back to the pen. It's about a divine shepherd going out to seek and rescue what was already his. Just like that precious thing you were so anxious about losing. The initiative, from beginning to end, belongs entirely to the rescuer. Okay, so we've gotten deep into the theology, but let's zoom back out. Why does a private letter shared on social media even matter? Well, the real key to its significance is all in the timing. Look at the timeline here. This is what's really fascinating. Graham sends this deeply personal, theological letter back in October. For a full 6 months, nothing. It's private. Then, on Palm Sunday, a hugely significant day in the Christian calendar, Trump suddenly decides to share it with the world. That long delay is really, really telling. So what does that 6-month gap mean? Well, according to the host take, it's proof that this wasn't just some random piece of fan mail. The fact that Trump not only kept it, but chose to post it so much later suggests the message must have stuck with him. In the host's view, it shows that the letter actually meant something to him. So let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways from the analysis? Well, first, the act of posting the letter suggests Trump was taking the message seriously. At the same time, his own public comments hint that he might not fully grasp this whole theology of grace. And it's important to remember this probably wasn't the first time he's heard this stuff, which all leads to the final, most important point. In this theological view, it's not about what you know in your head, it's about what you believe in your heart. You know, when you step back, this whole episode, from a viral soundbite to a private letter to a public post, it's this perfect storm. It's sitting right at the chaotic intersection of personal faith, modern politics, and the incredible power of social media to make something private instantly and globally public. And that really leaves us with this big question. When a public figure takes a private, spiritual message and puts it out there for everyone to see, what does it actually tell us? Is it a genuine peek into a personal journey, a calculated political move, or maybe something else entirely? What this exchange really shows is that the line between someone's private beliefs and their public persona is more complicated and maybe a lot blurrier than we think.